If you take a supplement for your joints, for your knees, your hips, or your hands, I need 5 minutes of your time today. A brand new study looked at what one of the most popular joint supplements in America might be doing somewhere you'd never expect: your brain. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what researchers found, how they found it, and the one simple thing you can do about it this week. This isn't about panic. It's about being informed, so you can have a real conversation with your own doctor if this applies to you. Here's why this matters right now. More than 40 million Americans take glucosamine every year for joint pain. It sits on pharmacy shelves right next to the vitamins and the fish oil. And for most of that time, it's been treated as harmless, something you add to your morning routine without giving it much thought. A new study is asking us to look at that assumption a little more closely, especially if you or someone you love already has some memory concerns. Before we go further, an honest note. I'm James Carter, your host here on Senior Health Guide. I'm a fictional AI-created health educator, not a real doctor, and everything in this video is for general education only. It isn't a substitute for advice from your own physician or pharmacist. Please keep that in mind as we go through this together. Let's start with the basics. Glucosamine is a natural compound found in the cartilage that cushions your joints. As we get older, our bodies make less of it, which is part of why joint pain becomes more common with age. The supplement version, sold as a pill or powder, is meant to help replace what the body has stopped producing in sufficient amounts on its own. Here's the part that caught researchers' attention. Glucosamine doesn't stay in your joints. It can cross something called the blood-brain barrier, which works a bit like a security checkpoint that normally keeps most substances out of your brain. Once inside, glucosamine can interact with the way brain cells process sugar, sometimes called a sugar tagging process. In a healthy brain, this runs quietly in the background without causing problems. But in a brain already affected by Alzheimer's disease, that same process tends to already be overactive. Researchers wanted to know what happens when you add more glucosamine into a system that may already be out of balance. It also helps to be clear about what mild cognitive impairment actually means, since it comes up throughout this video. It's a stage where a person's memory and thinking skills change slightly, more than typical aging, but not enough to prevent someone from managing their daily life. Some people with mild cognitive impairment stay stable for years. Others go on to develop Alzheimer's disease. This study looks specifically at what might influence which path someone takes. Let me introduce you to someone. This is a fictional example, but it may feel familiar. Picture a woman named Ruth. Ruth is 71. A few years ago, her doctor told her she had mild cognitive impairment, a stage where memory and thinking change slightly, but she can still live independently and manage her own life. Ruth also has arthritis in her knees, so every morning, right alongside her blood pressure pill, she takes a glucosamine capsule. She's taken it for over a decade, ever since a friend recommended it. She's never thought twice about it. Ruth's daughter recently came across this new research and brought it up gently at Ruth's next appointment. That single conversation is exactly the kind of step this video hopes to encourage. Not fear, just an informed question, asked at the right time, to the right person. Now, let's talk about what researchers actually found. This study came from neuroscientists at the University of Florida, and it was published on June 9th in the scientific journal Nature Metabolism. That's a well-respected peer-reviewed journal, meaning other scientists reviewed the methods and findings closely before it was published, which matters when we're deciding how seriously to take a new finding. The research team examined more than a decade of patient health records, from 2012 through 2024. From that data, they identified thousands of people who had either mild cognitive impairment or an existing diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or a related dementia. Within that group, they specifically looked at the people who reported taking glucosamine, about 8% of each group, which roughly matches how common the supplement is in the general population. Here are the two main findings. First, among people with mild cognitive impairment, those who took glucosamine were 25% more likely to progress to Alzheimer's disease than people with the same diagnosis who didn't take it. Second, among people who already had Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, those who took glucosamine had a 25% higher risk of dying within 5 years compared to those who didn't take it. The researchers didn't stop at health records. They also studied human brain tissue samples and used mouse models of Alzheimer's disease to look for a biological explanation. That's where they found the sugar tagging connection we talked about earlier, and that additional layer of evidence is part of why this finding is being taken seriously, rather than treated as a coincidence found in one dataset alone. So what does this actually mean? And just as importantly, what does it not mean? First, let's talk about what 25% higher actually tells us, because numbers like this are easy to misread. It doesn't mean 25% of glucosamine users will develop Alzheimer's disease. It means that within this specific study, people with mild cognitive impairment who took glucosamine progressed to Alzheimer's disease at a rate 25% higher than similar people who didn't take it. It's a comparison between two groups, not a prediction about any one individual. That distinction matters, and it's one more reason this is a conversation to have with your own doctor who knows your full picture rather than a number to apply to yourself in isolation. Second, this study shows an association. Researchers found a pattern, a connection between two things happening together. It does not prove that glucosamine causes Alzheimer's disease. There may be other explanations that haven't been fully ruled out yet, and the researchers themselves have been upfront about that. Their next step is a clinical trial, a more controlled type of study that can help determine whether this connection truly is cause and effect. Third, it's important to understand exactly who this research applies to. This study focused on people who already had mild cognitive impairment or an existing dementia diagnosis. It did not study healthy older adults with no memory concerns who take glucosamine simply for their knees or their hands. We don't yet know whether the same pattern would show up in that group, and this video isn't suggesting it does. Families often ask what changes to watch for. In Ruth's case, it was her daughter who found the research and raised it, not Ruth herself. That's common. Memory changes are frequently noticed by the people around someone before that person notices them in themselves. If you're caring for a parent or spouse who takes glucosamine and has any memory concerns, this is useful information to bring to their next appointment. What this research cannot yet tell us is whether stopping glucosamine would slow down or reverse any of these changes. That specific question hasn't been studied, which brings us to the most useful part of this video. Here's what you can actually do with this information. First, make a simple list of every supplement you currently take, including glucosamine if you take it, and bring that list to your next appointment with your doctor or pharmacist. It's worth knowing that dietary supplements aren't reviewed by the FDA for safety and effectiveness the same way prescription medications are before they reach store shelves. That doesn't mean every supplement is a problem. Most people take them without any issue, but it's part of why it's worth being deliberate about which ones you take and why, and mentioning all of them at your appointments. Second, don't stop taking any supplement or medication on your own before talking with a professional. Even something as common as glucosamine can be part of a bigger picture that your doctor understands better than any of us watching a video at home. Stopping something abruptly isn't automatically the safer choice, and your doctor can help you weigh what's right for your specific situation. Third, if you or someone you love has been told they have mild cognitive impairment, this is a good specific question to raise at the next visit. You might simply say, "I heard about a new study on glucosamine in memory. Can we talk about whether this applies to me?" Fourth, if you and your provider do decide a change makes sense, ask about alternative approaches to joint pain. There are other options, and your provider can help you find one that fits your needs. None of these steps require panic. They simply require a conversation. Let's clear up a few misunderstandings that tend to come up with news like this. Myth: natural or over-the-counter automatically means safe. For everyone, in every amount, forever. Just because something doesn't require a prescription doesn't mean it has no effect on the body. Many over-the-counter supplements are biologically active, which is exactly why research like this matters. Myth: one study means we now know for certain. Good science builds over time, one study at a time. This is an important early finding, not a final answer, and the researchers themselves are calling for more study before drawing firm conclusions. Mistake: stopping a supplement suddenly out of fear after watching a video like this one. Please don't do that without talking to your doctor first. Mistake: assuming this means every supplement on your shelf is now suspect. This research is about glucosamine specifically, tied to a specific biological mechanism. It isn't a reason to distrust every vitamin or supplement you take. It's a reason to be thoughtful about this particular one, especially if memory concerns are already part of your picture. So when should you actually bring this up? If you've been told you have mild cognitive impairment and you currently take glucosamine, this is worth mentioning at your next visit. Not as an emergency, just as a normal part of your ongoing care. If you're a caregiver or a family member and you've noticed memory changes in someone who takes glucosamine, this is useful information to share with their doctor. And if you take glucosamine simply for joint pain, with no memory concerns at all, there's no need to call your doctor urgently. Simply mention it the next time you already have an appointment scheduled. This is information to fold into your regular care, not a reason to seek emergency attention. Let's bring this together with 3 key points. 1. A new study from the University of Florida found that glucosamine use was linked to a 25% higher likelihood of progressing from mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease, and a 25% higher mortality risk in people who already had dementia. 2. This is a connection, not proof of cause and effect. It's early, important research that still needs to be confirmed through clinical trials. 3. The right next step is a conversation with your own doctor or pharmacist, especially if you or someone you love has memory concerns and takes this supplement. There's no need to make any changes on your own before that conversation happens. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Understanding research like this is exactly the kind of thing your doctor may not always have time to walk you through during a short appointment, and that's exactly why we make videos like this one. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing. We cover clear, honest health information for older adults and the families who love them every week. If you know someone who takes glucosamine, a parent, a spouse, a friend, please consider sharing this video with them. A 5-minute conversation today could be genuinely useful down the road. As always, please speak with your own doctor about any questions this video raised for you. This video is for educational purposes only.